Hi, a film that I have seen finally and has been long overdue is the 1931 original screen version of Dracula, directed by Tod Browning and starring Bela Lugosi as the Count. It's a very straightforward, stripped down, dramatic version of the original story, although with a few changes here and there. Instead of Jonathan Harker going to Transylvania at the start of the story, it's Renfield who then transports the Count back to England, where Dracula has purchased Carfax Abbey and winds up seducing um, Mina Harker. I think he changed the character names around this time. Lucy, I think it was in this version, and Mina's last name has been changed from Western Ra to simply Western because they thought it sounded odd. Um, but it's a very stripped down version of the story. The chase across Europe at the climax is removed. Instead, the climax takes place at Carfax Abbey, and it's exactly the kind. If you've seen the story before, if you've seen the Francis Ford Coppola version or the original Hammer version, you know the story. Um, it's more engaging than I was expecting. It being from 1931, I was expecting it to be a little bit creaky and static. Frankenstein was made later the same year by James Whale, who I think has a much stronger reputation today than Browning, who managed to completely torpedo his career a couple of years later when he made Freaks, a film that was widely reviled and is still the longest banned film in the UK. But it has a pace to it in condensing the story down to only an hour and a quarter that I think does credit to it over many other versions of the story. This has a real clip to it. Lugosi is less intimidating, I think, than other screen Draculas. He is a little more charming. When he meets Renfield in the earlier scenes, he's quite charming and almost gregarious in welcoming his new guest. I have to give a special mention to Dwight Frye as Renfield, who early in the film is sort of a fairly normal Englishman abroad, a standard issue gentleman in a small European village. But once he comes under Dracula's thrall, is wildly overacting in a way that is incredibly engaging and quite frightening when the ship is finally found washed up at shore with all the crew dead. The harbour master lifts up a hatchway to look into the hold and finds only Renfield grinning wildly with a fixed expression up at him in a genuinely creepy moment. And he alternates through the rest of the movie from wild mania to a simple undercurrent of deranged menace. It's a fantastic performance, and it actually, I think, overshadows Lugosi. Um, Overall, it's, to begin with, a very important historical document in film terms. But even as a film in its own right, it's surprisingly entertaining and entertaining and engaging. And for a film that's over 90 years old, I think has stood up remarkably well. And it's really rather well recommended.